So in this step, first thing I'm going to do is to bring in some actual material that I will use for texturing the model. And first of all, I'm going to use one of my standard textures, which is called frames, because I originally did something like it as in order to do the frames on one of the first locomotives I did. So I'm looking for the TGA files here. There we are, frames. That's the one we want. Okay, so there it is, frames, and now I'm going to do a copy of that, and I'm going to call it shiny frames, and I'm going to bring in a bitmap here which will act as a which will act for the reflection. There it is. And because it's rather substantial at the moment, that's 100% reflection, so I'm going to knock that down to 20%, and I'm going to use that on the tyres, the wheel tyres, and on the inside face of the flange. So that's R2, and you can see I've typed those in lowercase, and I've left the diagrams in uppercase, in capital letters, because that's how I will distinguish them fairly quickly. So let's hide a few of these things. In fact, let's just select that and hide the unselected, and I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm going to hide those bits. So I'm just left with the wheel, and I'm going to ungroup this, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clone the flange, edit clone, and move it out of the way. Doesn't really matter where it goes. Push it over there, and I'm going to do the same with the wheel. Edit clone, okay. And let's just move this in one direction. Push it back there. And on that one I'm going to put shiny frames. There we are. And I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it in the other direction, separate it out so that it's separate, it's not looking over the top of the, we're not looking through the wheel in order to do this. And what I'm going to do here is first of all I'm going to take out some vertices, so I'm going to go into Wireframe, and I want to remove all of the vertices except for those that are the outer edge of the wheel. In other words, the edge of the wheel that runs on the rail that gets shiny through use. So let's take out all of those. That's all the inner, and this of course is taking out all the polys as well. So I'm going to delete that, leaves me just with a circle, and let's just unwrap that, and we'll use, because although we've got the reflection, I mean this one here is the reflection, but this one here is the texture, so I'm going to put the texture in fairly light, down there, bottom right. I tend to use that, it's got a bit of rust on it or something there. And so if we click out here now, that's all we've got there. And I'm now going to do the same on the flange. Shiny frames, there we are. And let's go over here, and what we want on this one actually is we want all these rear faces removed from it, so that's the only shiny bit is the outward facing side of the flange. So we're going to Wireframe, and we'll take out the polys all the way around. Make sure you're picking up the right ones. I'm not sure I am. No, they're okay. As long as those the polys that make up the outer face of the flange. Sometimes you find you pick up an odd one by mistake, and rather than trying to patch it, believe me, the quickest thing is to go back, clone the wheel again, clone the frame, the mesh again and just repeat that process. So we've now got a shiny outer part for the wheel and a shiny bit for the flange. But that means also that let's just go into there, make sure we've got the correct part of the texture, which is down here over to the right now, so it's the same. Now the only complication now is we've got to eliminate, because we don't want to have that sitting on top of another load of polys, so we need to eliminate the polys that are the facing side, the inward facing side of the flange. So we just go around clicking away. Let's get rid of them, and now let's just turn this around and take away these all the way around. Okay, looks like all of them. Yes. Okay, and now we've just got to do the same with the outer faces of the wheel, the tyre of the wheel. So we'll select this because that's the wheel, and we'll select poly, and we'll take out these ones, which are the outer faces of the wheel. Just delete those and carry on out this way. Good time to take a slurp of coffee. And again around here. Oops, make sure you're picking up the correct ones. You'll get a feel for it. You'll know. And last few over here. Just a couple. And I'm using the control button, holding the control button down with the left hand in order to, left index finger, in order to make sure that the I can pick up more than one poly at any time. So let's have a look at that in smoothing highlights, and you see we've lost the inner face of the flange and the outer face exterior of the wheel. So let's put those back in place because we've got them as separate meshes. So we're going to center them X, Y, Z. It's not right, is it? Because there's a gap there. So let's have a look. Okay. So there's maybe a problem with that in removing some of those polys. We've somehow adjusted that center point. Yeah, that looks like it, doesn't it? And let's make sure this one is centered as well. And now if we try this, hopefully, no, it's still there. So we'll click on OK. Have a look on the top down view. See what's happening. Oh well, for some reason it is. Oh, I see. It's because the because of course the wrong way. The inner side of the wheel, it's actually, I extended it out to include the flange. So I should have thought of that before I did this. So I'm not clever at all. Okay, so there we are. So that's positioned okay. So now hopefully this one, if I just click on this, turn this around here, and try and center it on the flange. Let's have a look at that, see if that's okay. Just about. It's not quite there, is it? So still I'm not quite making the right, getting the right positioning there. Let's have a look. Yeah. So probably what I should have done is cloned them, given the shiny material to the ones that I want. Yeah, I think they're there. And then deleted all the unwanted polys. Anyway, there we are. Now you can't see that they're shiny, but believe me, they are, because we've given it the correct texture. So I'm now going to do the back of the flange, and so I've given that frames material, and I'm going to give it a dark back. I tend to do this. Anything that's facing the back of the into the frames, there's no point really in having it any bright coloured or anything fancy. And then the wheel, what I tend to do is do the wheel again. I'm just giving it this one frames. Okay, so I'm going to say the interior face is going to be quite dark. This is why I have these graded greys here. Not quite as dark as black, but pretty close. So the whole thing can go like that. And then what I'll do is I'll pick up, let's go into wireframe, I'll pick up each of these faces, these polys. So this is the outer facing side of the wheel, the bit that you'll see most prominently. Just be careful you're picking up the right ones. Okay, and now the very important thing to do is hit planar map, which, as it were, disconnects those planes as far as the material is concerned from the other planes down here, and gives them as a correct image on the material. And I don't want it too bright, not too dark. Let's go over here with that one. Let's have a look at that. And you can see there that I've got a lighter grey on the outside, but that very dark there, that's this one on the inside. And I'm going to repeat that on these spokes of the wheel as well. I could have done this with the one spoke and then replace them all the way around, but you'll recall that I didn't do that because I wanted to show you how to just add them around. So here what I'm going to do is I've given it frames, and I'm going to select everything and give it that. Here it is up here. Just scale it down, zoom in a bit, drag it down. I'm going to give most of it this texture, but I'm then going to take that face and that face, planar map it, which essentially separates it from the others, give it that face, that colour there, that grey, which is the same as this one, but darker now on the inside. And then on the inside face I'm going to alter that as well, and I'm going to give that the black. Okay, so there we are. So there's that spoke, and I'm going to repeat that with all the others in just a moment. You can watch me do that. It's like watching paint dry, but I shall show you these as well. Frames, now we've extruded there, so I'm going to collapse that straight away down to a poly. Let's make sure it's correct, XREF it, and also then make sure the pivot and everything is right. Well, I'm not going to say it to center because we want it in the center of the wheel, not on the center of the mesh. And so now, there it is. Collapse that again. Add in the unwrap. Edit. Ooh, look at that. My goodness, ain't that impressive. So I'm going to take all of that, take it right down, stick it there, pick up the outer face, okay, we're already editing, and planar it, bring it right down and shove it over to the right there, so it's the same as the outer there. You must be getting the idea by now. And on this face, planar it, take it right down and stick it into the black, and then it's all going to be much the same. So now I'm just going to do the other spokes as quickly as I can in order to get the job done. So unless something occurs to me, I don't think there's much I can say about this. Again, just reducing that down to a reasonable size, zoom in, move it. The zoom is always using the mouse wheel. Select the two faces, planar. The outer ones are like this. and the inner ones are black. What I could have done, of course, is not just done one spoke and then repeated it all the way around. That's odd. Make sure I've got the right faces there. I don't think I have. If you get something like that that doesn't look like what you think you're going to get, try it again. Yeah, now that's right. And that one is wrong. Take that down, dump it back down there where it belongs, and this one belongs over here. Okay, so if I think I centered all of these, so I can't actually go in. No, I'm not going to bother going in and cloning them. But if I that procedure where I showed you in the last session, where I cloned everything and put them round, sent them round, cloned. That would do. If I'd already textured one of the spokes, then of course I could have done them all like that. I could have just cloned the finished textured spoke all the way around, but I didn't, so I'm stuck with doing it like this, which is rather laborious and to some extent unnecessary if I planned ahead, but this is where you learn, so I hope you are benefiting from seeing me plod through all these spokes. Another way that you can do it is to link them all, to select all the spokes and to what do we want here? We want over there, and to give them with them all selected, you can give them all the same mesh, and you can then, just by selecting one of them, you can in fact alter all of them simultaneously. Now that sounds a great idea, and it is a great idea, but my experience has shown that Gmax tends to blow its brains if they aren't all absolutely identical, and that means that they're identical in orientation as well. So none of these spokes are the same orientation, but they are all spokes. So if you had, say, the uprights of a fence, then you could use that process. And if there's anything on this logo that's like that, I'll aim to show it to you as I texture. Sometimes when you get on these older logos, the old sort of round spherical knobs connecting up the handrails around the locomotive, then you can do that quite successfully. My suggestion, though, is once you've done that, is to then render each of the ones that you've done, render them as individuals. And again, I need to show you how to do that. But it is just quite a simple process. Back up all the time, which is a good idea. So let's save this straight away and save it as. There it is. Yes, we'll save that. So now we've just done that one, so I'll pick up the two rearmost faces. Oh, that's not right. So we'll try. I don't think I can unplanar it. Oh, yes I can. Look at that. That's pretty good. So I picked up the wrong one there. Try again. There we are. That's better. And that goes down to the black. Spin the wheel around and just do the front. When you're making these, especially when you're first making them, and you would do these, this sort of thing. I mean, this is something I would tend to avoid, making the spokes like this. But I don't know. Maybe it's just a good way to show you how to do them, how long it can take if you don't think out what you're doing. But when you are doing these, you have to be patient. It's not all going to happen immediately. So planar map, and that's going to be the front. Yeah. And then swing it round it's very, very important that you use the planar map when you're doing different faces going to different sections of your texture, because otherwise you'll find all sorts of strange things creeping in as you adjust each face. But it's not a big deal once you get used to it. Excuse me. So let's just finish these off. And we're almost there, thank goodness. That's the black one. Goes down to black colour. And this one swings round. Remember to do the front. And then the last spoke. It's bespoke. Sorry. You tend to get a bit punchy after doing loads of these. But we're not going to do it for every wheel, of course, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone the wheel again as soon as I finish this. It just makes life a little bit easier. That's the front. We have that over there. And the black for the back, for the interior. It's also, I'm trying to think if I've seen any models where the modeler has actually deleted all these inward facing sides. And it's all very well until you get a locomotive going over a bridge, and then you can see right through the wheels. I don't think I've seen anything like that for a long time. Okay, so now we'll do the same with our counterweight. So here it is, and we'll just shrink it down, and we'll stick it over here, and because that's going to be that face, all those faces there, and then we're going to pick up that face, planar it. That's going to be the front. So now we just spin the wheel around and just do the rear face. Also do that black, planar it, bring it down, compress it down, and you notice as I move it around the texture, there we are, it's got the right texture now. So there we are, that's our wheel fully textured and done so far. So let's pick it all up, and make sure you do pick it all up, because if you've only got a face facing away from you in your view when you're going to do that, you don't necessarily activate, it doesn't necessarily pick up that particular side, it just picks up the front. So for example, because we've got the rear of the flange is just facing this way and is a series of planes all single dimensional facing this, or two-dimensional rather, facing this way, and then the shiny bit of the flange is facing this way. So if I go like that and pick it all up, then I might miss that face behind. So we can just look here, yeah, we've got everything, look, and that's what we've selected, and we're going to group it. Okay, and now we can unhide some stuff. Those are the other wheels. I thought we had more than that. Oh well, and a couple of cylinders. Let's see if that does the trick. There we are, and we also managed to hide that. So now what am I going to do to save time? Well, first of all, I'm going to give the axle, use the frames, convert it to a poly, and make sure it's good, XYZ, yeah, and I'm just going to unwrap it, and I want a slightly different texture to this face, because we want a bit of contrast just so as to be able to see that there is an axle there. And frankly, it's just a variant of grey, and we can go, I'm usually tempted to go for something like that. All my frames are pretty boring as regards to textures, all of my wheels and bogey sets tend to be pretty boring unless they are a specific colour. Sometimes you do get picked out on the outer face of the wheel, and that can look quite nice, but it's a bit fiddly. Okay, so there's our group of the one that we've done. So now I'm just going to repeat what I did before to make these. So I'm going to clone this. Okay, and I'm going to move it this way. Just moving that way, and then I'm going to spin it round 180 degrees, and I'm going to make sure that it is the pivot of the group, not of the individual meshes, is centered, and I'm going to make sure that one's centered as well. And I'm going to note that this is group 2 and that this is group 3, so I'm going to delete this one. No, I'm not. I'm going to take this and I'm going to align it on group 2, so it's going to align it on the tube, I think. Yeah, it's at the wrong place. So cancel that. So let's get the position of this. It's 18003. Oh, of course we remember that. So it's 1 for 8.003, and there it is. And that's group 3. So let's pick it up again. There it is, group 2. So I'm going to delete group 2. There it is gone. So we've got our wheel there already textured. So now what I need to do is to ungroup it. I'm going to XREF the whole lot, every mesh that's on there, and I'm also then going to do all of the pivots to make sure they're right. And only when I'm quite happy that they're right will I regroup it. And as you remember from when I did this before, it means that the quartering is already done. You don't have the connecting rods if they're down here. On the other side you don't have them up here, you have them a quarter in advance on the right hand side. So now that gives us an axle and 2 groups, which I'm going to group again. Okay, and I'm going to center the pivot on that. That's actually centering on the axle, and now what I can do is I can clone that lot and I can position them according to this axle here. Okay, so that is highlighted as group 2. So whatever other group we pick up here, group 1, if I delete that, there it is. We've got our, now you see there's it's showing up a very minor little line there. I don't think actually I think it's a function within Gmax, never seems to appear in trains. Clone this again, position it on the axle, and that is group 1. I mean, you can give these groups names if you want to be really pedantic. So whichever other group, not group 1, group 1, group 7, there we are. And so there we have our 6 driving wheels. So let's unhide everything else so we can see what's happening. Okay, not bad, not bad. But of course there's other things I should have done. I'm just realising now I should have put a connecting pin here, here and here. So that was stupid, wasn't it, that I didn't do that. So that'll be my next job. I'm going to hide these. You can see now why I do the wheels first, because you need to keep it clear of other items. And go to smooth and highlights. And I need a cylinder. Make any old cylinder, doesn't really matter at this stage. 12 sides is fine. I shall go into wireframe. It's going to be centered in there on this connecting piece. I should know the name of it, but I don't. I'm sure somebody does. 4-inch diameter, 4-inch radius is too much, and we're still going down in inches. That's about right. So you can see I've just left that at 12 inches, 12 sides rather. There. Okay, but it's in the middle and it's at any old length. So if we look at the top down view, here we are. And this is this one over here to show you. So that's this one here. Can't show you because it's all one group anyway. Okay, so now what we want here is a cylinder. At the moment it's 10 inches long. That's probably not going to be enough. But what we can do now is let's move it on the x-axis. Basically what you've got to do is leave enough there for a bit of space and then the connecting rod, and then that's going to show through. So I'm just prepared to leave it like that at the moment. What I will do is I'll texture it straight away. And I'm not going to reduce it to a poly just yet. And I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to give this outer face planar that. You can see the segments sides that make up the circle. So I've given that the same texture as this. Now what I want to do is, if we have a look at the diagram, okay, what I want to do is to hide everything apart from the diagram. Get it right in a minute. Have a look in here at our smooth and highlights, and it's lucky because we've got, they are squared off, or rectangular more or less, sections that connect up the parts of the connecting rod. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this out of spline squares, making the connecting rod. Let's make it nice and big, we don't need that yet. And I'm just going to do it by eye. So standard primitives, rectangle. Now I think there's a little step there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rectangle in to about the same place over there. Let's make it a colour that we can see. Okay, and I'm going to put another rectangle in there. But I'm very much aware that there is some more detail here, so I'm actually going to put another one in there. I'm not going to worry about this one yet, and there's another one that goes in there. This one here is going to be largely hidden, so I'm not even going to worry about modelling that. So here we are in the wireframe mode, and I'm going to go right into these and make them look something like they should. Now it appears that the distance there and the distance there is different. This is a greater distance here, so I'm not going to center this vertically with this one here at all, but I will center this one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure all of the pivots are correct, which they are now, and this one is now going to be centered vertically only. Just want it over to the left there. There we are, move slightly down. Okay, so where else are we? The only other thing I've got to do is, that's in position, check again. Yeah, I think this is a bit too long, so I'm going to alter that when I come to it. So with this rectangle, reduce it to a spline, and this one to spline, and on this one take out that segment, and on this one refine the points. Excuse me. There we are, put in an extra point. Select, take out, fine, select, and break it, and they always go in the opposite direction of where you think they should. There we are. So having broken that, I can now bring that down to there, and up to there. So it speeds up making that shape, which we had there. I think that's that one. Whoops. Undo, you want the Y direction. Don't mess me about. Gmax, don't you love it? Okay. Now this here, when I come to extrude it, it's going to be thicker than this, but this I think can be the same. Yeah, it's part of the maze. So this one here, we do the same here. I'm going to convert it to an editable spline. I'm going to take the vertices and I'm going to move them over there. Convert this one, editable spline, segment, take that out because I don't want that. Let's go back to this one, vertex, refine, break, break. And as always, I'm going to take the wrong one first. Oh no, look at that. That must be the first time, a very long time. And what you need to do is make sure these handles don't overextend. So give you nothing but grief in the way in which the line, that vertex, operates. Okay, so now what I can do is on this one, let's have a look at one. There we are. I'm going to attach it to this one, and I'm going to weld that one and that one, and then this one. I need you to keep this side, this bit, because it's going to be narrower. So I need to adjust those a bit better than that. Oh dear, look at that. And down here. There we go. And just the vertices there. And it's way out. I know, this is an illustration. It's extending beyond the points because this handle here, oops, this handle here, and this one here. Okay. Now, what also I need that one over there. So at the other end, so edit, clone, and let's just move that away. I'm going to rotate it on its vertical axis, which actually Y. Turn it around 180, just 180 degrees, and let's move it in the x-axis onto here, and this one, take out segment. Just move this and then let's just attach this. Weld those. See how the number of handles drops down as soon as you weld. Attach this end. To attach, you need to be in the main part of it, but to weld you need to be working on the vertices. Weld. Okay, so there we are. So that should do us. That should be something like, let's go back here and zoom out and have a look at it. Yeah, there's a little piece to fit in there. I'll have to come to. So now let's give it some bit of depth. So let's extrude it. Extrude it, well, I don't know, about 3.5 inches, I think. We're going to have to judge it when we come to the bit big, isn't it? 2 inches. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? I think so, anyway. And then we'll extrude this one as well. Now there's a problem there, it's not extruding properly. Which means that, let's delete that, so I'm back to my spline, which means that there is a join which isn't welded together properly. So let's go back over to here. And just let's double check we've got all of our, and you can tell that they're not welded correctly because we've got too many of those. That's okay. So you should only have one of these squares. Well, what about that one? Let's try that. Extrude. There we go. 2. Let's go 1.5 because we want a bit of depth. We don't want too much. Let's give it 0. Minus there, rather. That move it over. So it gives us a bit of depth there. I don't think there's any inset into that, or is there? I think it's fairly standard. Yeah, if you want to, you can actually set a face into that. I'm not going to bother, I think it's unnecessary. But this just creates more polys. So now the other thing that I need to do is to center up the pivots on everything. Make sure they're all aligned. Take this one and clone it and rotate it 180 degrees and then move it. Now remember, on that longer piece, this longer piece here, the end mesh is now going to be concealed by this. So I can actually delete that. I'll delete that now. It's a wireframe. This face there on this one. I'm going to convert that now to editable mesh and convert it again to poly, and I'm going to select one poly parrot. Okay, when you really zoom in close, it disappears. It's handy, isn't it? That's sometimes why I work in 200%, because then you can, it's like zooming in. Okay, so there we are. So it's the basics of our coupling rod, and I'm just going to immediately texture this because I don't want to muck about. And I'm going to give it the same texturing as I did for the wheels, so all the faces are like that until I come to this face, and that's going to be the outer face, so move it over here, and then the innermost face is of course going to be in black. So and that's that one, and if we do the same here, edit. Now that face is facing inwards, so we'll make that black. So I'm only using a small proportion of this frame, but it means that the material, but it means that if I want any other sort of weird and wacky bits, I can just change that. And I'm going to make that the same as the wheel outer face. Okay, and rapidly do this one. Collapse it down to a poly. Make everything, all the other odd faces, the top and bottom edges and all those sort of little edges in there, they can all be the same material, the same texture. And then, oops, where? And then this one has to be black. Okay, right, so that's that. So let's bring our wheels back. See if I can remove those three, isn't it? Unhide. There must be another cylinder as well. Yeah, there it is. There's the pin. And of course our coupling rod is in the wrong place because it's right in the middle there, look. So we're going to bring it out. So let's do that. Let's groove it up. So there it is. And there it is looking down on it from the top. And we're going to bring it out this way. And that's probably okay. Yeah, that looks alright. And also what I can do is I can take so let's center the check on the pivot, and that is at 2 foot 20401. So if I edit, close, okay, and then that 180, 20401, it's still that. So if I stick that over there, it gives us the position, correct position, but of course because it's quartered, it's not the correct position because it's got to be, I'm going to move it over to there. And that means that we can then adjust that. So this is when I'm going to collapse it down to a poly, pick up the vertices, and I'm just by eye going to reduce the width of that, the length of that. Okay, let's have a look. This is when, if I think there isn't enough, well there is, obviously I like to have a bit of contrast in the frames, and that end face is not sufficient, it's just blending in. So what I'm going to do, that's it there, that's just the end face, so let's plane unwrap it, make sure it is, yeah. And I think what I'm going to do is darken it a bit, so I'm going to use this one down here. I'm going to drop that there, and we should see it now stands out okay. Right. Yeah, I think that looks okay. The only other thing is that that one has a face buried into the into this thing, connecting piece that comes down there. So if we go into wireframe, just collapse that down. There's a poly, so I can lose a poly there. There it is. Because it's hidden by the rest of the model. Okay, so there we are with the connecting rod in place, but we're going to go a little bit further, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to hide everything else, hide unselected. I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm going to hide the other wheel and the axle, and here now what I want to do is I'm going to ungroup this, and then I'm going to pick up everything and I'm going to group it again, which means I've moved this pin into the group. Now if I unhide it, everything else, I don't really need that. I can see now why I don't do the boiler first, why I do these first. So now what we've got is a wheel with the pin for the connecting rods, and I'm going to do what I did all over again. I'm going to clone it, and I'm going to rotate that clone 180 degrees, and I'm going to have a go and see if it will center on this wheel. I don't know if it will or not. No, it hasn't done, because that's because the little pin for this pin here has altered the overall shape of this. So let's just have a quick look there. That's interesting. The other one isn't at the correct position. Good job I did this. You'll soon notice that the problem, if you get a problem like that, when you go to animate it, because it'll look like it'll look very silly. So delete that. So there we are, and that means we should have, I think, the pin. Yeah, there it is. There's the pin for this one. And again, like I did before, I'm just going to ungroup that, and I'm going to X-form everything, and I'm going to make sure that everything's centered, and then I'm going to group it up again. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is pick up that group, leave that group selected, pick up this group and the axle, and make that into a group. Okay, and then I'm going to clone it, and it's group number 4 now, and I'm going to position it again. So that's group 4. Oh, it's not group 4, group 2, delete group 2, pick up group 4, edit, clone, okay, and that's group 2, so it's the other one, group 1 I'll delete, and there we are. So now we should have, there we are, we've got connecting rod, and the position of everything should be okay, but it's not, because that isn't right. Look at the gap there compared to the gap there. So let's go into here, and what I'm going to do is, where are we? This is a group, so I'm going to ungroup that, and I'm simply going to move that until by I think that it's centered there, and then I'm going to pick this one up, go into the vertices and just move those vertices until they're in the correct position. Right. And now I'm going to make sure I get this one and this one and this one. I shall group that up. Okay, and I'm going to delete this one because it's wrong, and I shall take this one, it's right, and I shall clone it, clone, okay, and make sure that the pivot's in the center of that group, and then rotate it 180 degrees, and so it would be minus, it's positive 2 foot 0401, and then all I've got to do is move it to the left so it's in position over the coupling pin on the other side, or connecting pin or whatever it is, the thingy. And I think that looks okay. I think that's alright. I'm actually looking at this here is the back of the wretched diagram. I think it's okay. A bit close, but no, I think it's alright. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hide the dome because that's just getting in the way. And I don't need the gauge guide anymore. I'm going to save it here. There we are. Yes, thank you. And we'll go into the top-down view, and we're going to go down to animation. And it's over here, and we're going to have a length of 30. 100 is too long. Okay, so it becomes 31 if you include 0. And so we've got animation sorted, and now we come over to our helpers, and we're going to create a dummy, and we're only going to work in the top-down view. We'll make a dummy which is sort of like a skeleton square in blue, and we're going to call that standard. What's the name? Oh, there it is. We're going to call it B.R. axle 01, and we're going to position it over the axle. There it is, over the axle. Then we're going to turn on animation, and using our rotate here, and we're rotating it on the axle that runs that way. We've got the animation turned on, and what do we want to do? Yeah, I think this is it. Just go down until we've done 360 degrees. Okay, so let's jump back and run it forward. No, I've not done that right, have I? What do I do? Oh, I remember. For goodness sake. First of all, I go to frame 10, and I take this down 120 degrees. I'm looking at the number of degrees down here, and then I go to frame 20, and I take it down another 120 degrees. I go to frame 30, and I take it down another 120 degrees. 20, there we are. That should do it, I think. so that if we look in here, I'm going to turn on the animation. There it is, it's spinning round. That's good. Thank goodness for that. I got mad there. And then I'll take this group and I shall attach it. I shall attach it to that one there, parent. Okay, so let's see if that works. It does, but it's running backwards. What have I done wrong? No, something I've done wrong. I thought you drew it down. Right, okay, so I'm going to delete that and I'm going to make another one. And I'm going to call it BR Axle 01. You can see I haven't done these for a while. And let's position it there. And this time, okay, this time I should just go straight to frame 30. Let's try this. And I go 360 degrees up. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to attach. I'm going to take that and attach it to that. There we go, it's going around the right way now. Ain't that sweet? So, I'll do the same with this. And call it BR Axle 02, how inventive. I'll stick it there. Okay, and I shall go to frame 30 and I'll rotate it up 360 degrees. And I'm always looking down here when I'm doing that. And then I'm going to clone it and call it BR Axle 03, which is what I could have done with the first one. And I'm going to position it over the other axle, and then I'm going to attach this. It's going to get attached to BR Axle 02, and this is going to be linked to BR Axle 03. And I sincerely hope this works. Oh! Oh dear. Enjoy it. And what I've done there is I've actually stacked, because I had animate on, I ended up stacking them on top of each other. So let's position that down there for the moment. Let's have a look at them just to make sure I don't even see them. This axle is in the wrong place at the moment. Ah, joy. That's right. Anyway, let's move this one. We can judge it by the. I told you get warts and all with this. No, that's wrong. All that's position it so that we're correct there. So you get all the mistakes. Freely admit I make plenty. Okay, let's have a look and see if they're rotating correctly. Yeah, right. Okay, so now with animation turned off, I can now link that to Axle 02, and I can link that one to Axle 03, and hopefully this time, yo, there they go. Quite close together, aren't they? Yeah, that's the way of it. And if you just stop it, I mean, you just play it like an ordinary. You can step through a frame at a time. Make sure they are going in the right direction. Okay, so that's fine. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to animate the connecting rods. So I'm just going to do that. That'll be the end of this video. So we've been at it for ages now. So I'm going to make another dummy, and I'm going to call this side over here 0 and this side 1. So I'm going to call this dummy B&LR connecting pin, all one word, O. I'll call it O. No, I'll call this side O1, that side O2. Yeah, there we are. And I'm going to position it on the pin. Now it doesn't matter where you see these in the model like this, because they don't appear in trains. And I'm going to link it to BR Axle 01. So when we switch on the animation, that one should fly around like that. Okay. And then I'm going to select this connecting rod group, and I'm going to attach them to connecting pin 01. So as that pin swings round, now so does that correct connecting rod. There you go, whee, flying around. Okay, so now we'll do another one, and we'll, not very big, and we'll call it BR connecting rod. Put a space in there. I don't know whether you need to or not. I don't know. I think you'd probably call it a heat point. And I'm going to line it up with that one. And I'm going to attach it to BR Axle 01. And I'm going to connect that. Attach that to connecting rod 02. And now it too should fly around like a crazy thing. There we go. That's good. That's fun. Right, now we're going to make sure it looks okay. It doesn't actually fly around like a crazy thing. And we're going to need our animation on. And we're going to go to frame number 10. And going to pick up the group. We don't want the group. We want, there we are. We want one of the two dummies that control the connecting rods, and we want the Z, or the try and get the Z in there. And we're going to bring it back down to where that pin is, and the same with the other one. Make sure you pick up exactly the right thing. There we are. And bring that down to there. Then we're going to jump to frame 20 and do the same thing. I think that's the horizontal, and there, and then we jump to frame 30. You've guessed it. And to the end, to 0, switch off animation, and let's have a look and see what happens. Let's hope. There we go. So we have our driving wheel bogey done. As far as the wheels and the connecting rod is concerned, we've still got all the piston and that to do, so that'll be the next one. But there we are. That's where I'm going to leave it for this time. I hope that's been of help, and if it has, then please subscribe to my channel. It's free, there's no obligation. It really encourages me to do more of this, and Please leave a comment if you wish, please give me a thumbs up if you fancy it, and look out for the next one.